Wellness begins where play, pleasure, and the parasympathetic meet. You were born to be you, and you were born to be well. Your body is always trying to find its way back to health. Now, here is the host of Your Healing Playground with Dr. Tina Coopersmith.
Hello, my friends. Welcome to this podcast, Your Healing Playground. I am your host, Dr. Tina Coopersmith, your witchy doctor and change advocate. And we are on the Inspired Choices Network, where we are inspiring people to live their best life. And today I am honored, literally honored, to have with me Dr. Matt Helm. Dr. Matt Helm is... People underuse the word divine masculine, but this is a man who has done it all, from athlete, college athletic coach, professor, PhD, starting a business, building a business, going through marriages, having kids. Like, he's done it all, and he has so much wisdom to share. And my friends, he's a colleague that we met in coaching programs. Yes, he's also an erotic blueprint coach, which means he's an expert in the erotic blueprints, sexuality, relationships, communication. He's a master coach of transformational life coaching with Rapid Coherence Institute, which we are both involved in as well. He brings to the table knowledge, yes, but heart, presence, and just a fully balanced human being. And we're here because, you know what? We all come into the world balanced, and then we get imbalanced by the society we live in. And we're all on a journey to get back somehow to who we really are. And Matt has done that journey. And he's going to just help us get there today. I know it. So I like what he wrote, his title of his book that's coming out, Uncaged. And well, actually, I may have the title completely wrong. So I'm going to let Matt take it away and tell me, what's the title of your book?
It's called, well, first of all, Dr. Tina, thank you for having me on your show. I appreciate your leadership for humanity. I appreciate what you're doing in the world. And I have truly enjoyed coaching both in the Erotic Blueprints with you and the Rapid Coherency Institute, where we met and where I got to know about your story, and where we realized we are in it together to help heal humanity, to help bring our people to something new and different. When I think about men, I think about, I'm not really sure we've actually seen a real man on the planet yet. And so at some point we can talk about that today, but the title of my book that I just completed last month is called Uncaged Man, Resurrecting the Masculine, Honoring the Feminine, and Healing Humanity.
Love it.
So it's basically a deep dive of my life's work. I wanted to understand, why is it as a species that we're designed to thrive and that yet we are going extinct?
Yeah.
And I wanted to understand that in my own personal life. Like, why am I having such a hard time, like, being human when this beautiful earth is here and there's so much beauty that we get to experience on a daily basis, and that there are so many things clouding that, both inside me and external to me. So that's the book. And honoring the feminine was a big part of it. I was raised by women and raised in this culture, was learning what toxic masculinity was learning that to be a man in the world was not a positive thing. And as a boy growing up in that culture, really wanted to reclaim that part of myself, understand what it means to be a boy, a man, a leader. And then the notion of healing humanity, I find that, and what I talk about in the book, is that we're really sick as a species. We're really unhealthy as a human family.
Right.
And I would go as far as to say diseased as a species. And Zach Bush, he's another MD. I imagine you know who he is. He says we're in hospice as a species. Like,
Oh,
we're
I
literally
like
going
that term.
down.
Yeah. Sperm counts are
And
dropping, egg counts are dropping, infertility is rising, and in not just in humans, but we're seeing it in the animals because we've destroyed the planet, not just our own species.
yes. And so for me as a leader who has woken up, you and I spent some time reading Ken Wilber's book, Radical
Yeah,
Wholeness, and the notion of we have very few people on the planet who have actually experienced what it feels to be whole.
yeah,
And what is the system that's in place that leads us to be unwhole,
right.
to feel unworthy, all of that. And so I'm sure we'll get into this today. What was it in terms of my own awakening, waking up?
Yeah,
And from there, I don't use his term cleaning up, I use the word healing up
I like
and
that.
maturing up the parts of us that got stunted in trauma or got stunted in our growth and evolution, and and then cleaning up and showing up, on the
Yeah,
planet. And that's kind of what I'm doing here with you today. When people ask me to come on and serve in the way that you did, the answer is always yes. I may come on and not know exactly, but I do know one thing. I'm here to create a new humanity while I'm alive. So
yeah,
that's what the book, Uncaged, Uncaged Man, Uncaged Woman. It's about being uncaged, even though I wrote it for the uncaging of man. I think the readers are going to be women because I'm talking about in the book what has happened to us as men on the planet, especially in this Western culture. But
yeah.
it's permeating across
Oh,
the planet.
yeah. We're exporting a way of living that people around the planet don't have, but they're desperate to want it. And we're going there to learn how to live. Like I traveled to Africa twice, in the last whatever, within the year. And I remember we went to this one church in, Sunday morning service. We're supposed to get up and speak to them, right? And we walk in, sit down, and and this is not the fancy part of town. This is in the townships, which is you know, very the lower poverty level kind of folks. But they come every Sunday, they come to church, they have this big community, and they are singing and dancing and celebrating this Sunday. It was like an orgasmic experience and we were just holding hands, all of us on our trip, like crying from the
Mm-hmm.
beauty. And then they asked us, the timing was off. So we went to meet with a small group instead of speaking in front of them. And to a T, every single one of us got up and like, what do we have to teach you? You just taught us all about life and community and love and belief and celebration of being alive in the moment,
Yes. Beautiful.
even if you don't have,
Mhm.
and we live in a society of haves and have-nots and competing and comparison, and we live from the brain and not from the heart. That's just how I summarize it.
Yes. Yes. And there's a wealth that money could never buy. And there are cultures around the world that have that wealth. And in my work, as I've uncovered, like, why are we living in a cage? What is it, this most advanced form of slavery known to man? And I do define it as advanced slavery,
Oh, that's
that
interesting.
freedom is actually the wealth
Hmm.
money can't buy. And when you taste it and touch it, you know what it feels like. It's hard to describe, but
Yeah.
you know what sovereignty feels like. It's not the freedom that we're indoctrinated with in this culture. Like we can go to the store or we can choose to do certain things, but even our choices have been co-opted through a very, very sophisticated indoctrination system,
Yeah.
conditioning system, and it happens from birth. So, you know, I can talk about that today. I can talk about that all day long, but that is what's happened to our people, and it's affecting every aspect of our life in this culture.
Yeah.
And so um, that
So
old
let me,
fashioned. Yes, go ahead.
I just want to get, because you and I mean, we have met before numerous times and we're on that same wavelength. And, I have my journey of I'm still not 100% sure what led me here, but I realized that my life force, especially after this 4-day weekend, when I, you know, contemplated what is life for 3.5 days, and I'm still contemplating it, right? But what was your journey that led you to ask these questions? Because I think the issue for so many in our society, right?
Mhm.
We've stopped asking those questions. Education is indoctrination, not curiosity anymore.
Mhm.
And so I'm curious, and I realize, I mean, I was such a great student. All I did was regurgitate what everybody, like, wait a
Mhm.
minute, what about, and I was always asking why. So, and hence my life force, put me
Mhm.
on this. So, what led you? What was that one moment, 20 moments that said, I have to wake up and question my life, my belief, what it means to be a man in today's society? What, give us a little backstory. Everybody thinks, oh, these people, that's not me because I can't do it, da 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 da. But we all have a backstory.
Mhm.
Picasso painted lots before he had his masterpieces, right? So you're
Mhm.
very brilliant and you've always been brilliant. So that's not the question, but you started to ask different questions. And I'm curious how you got there.
Mhm. Well, I love the question. It's like how I thought about it. It's like, how do I kind of summarize and not tell the complete long story of it? But you really have to go back to teenage parents. You have
Mm,
to go back to my mother's. They were in a pretty typical 50s family. Dad was a teacher. My grandmother was a stay-at-home mom. Infidelity in the family. So my grandmother was so hurt, she moved my mother and all four of their kids, ranging from 10 down to two, four of them, back to Ann Arbor. And so divorce and infidelity broke this, what would have been a kind of a typical 50s family.
mhm,
My father, whose father was in World War II and came back with PTSD. They didn't have a
mm,
name for it back then.
yeah.
Uh, and so my father witnessed his father coming back violent
Mm,
and traumatized. And basically, without help, he took it out on the whole family. And
mm,
these teenagers, my young mother and father, met at 15 and 16 years old in the parking lot at Ann Arbor Pioneer High School. My father was skipping school. My father was not going to school, and met my young mother at 15, and they had me at 17. So
wow.
you've got teenage mother. She had my brother at 18, and you've
Hmm.
got a father who was really not in the picture. So when we get into it, like what my core, what I would consider my core wound in
Hmm.
existence is a father that was absent. And what that's like to have a mother who's working full time. We lived in a trailer park. So you get a sense. My mother took her college education and bought a small trailer. And I grew
Hold
up,
on. Hold on. I want to back up a minute because you just your mom had you at you said 15 or 16?
she met my father at 15. They had me at 17
17 and then
and
19.
18.
And yet she
Yep.
went to college.
She did not go to college. She used her college money,
Oh, the money that was supposed to go to college. Okay.
yes,
Got it.
to buy this trailer. And so I grew up in a trailer park. And so
Hmm.
um, very white, I guess they would have called it like trailer park kind of trash, right? Trailer park people. It was all white, very segregated. So just down the street was all black, right on the corner, like right on the borderline of Ypsilanti, which was all like very African American. And you had the Arabs and the Muslims and another trailer park. It was really an interesting place to grow up.
Mm,
But when I think about how did I get here, it was coping with an absent father, having to fend for myself and take care of myself in a world that was not very friendly, especially
yeah.
with a working mother in schools. Like I think about the K through 12 education, and I went to school, and that's where I mean, teachers were really, really rough for me and boys at the time because we did, you take this kind of ADHD kind of kid, that's what you label it, and put him in a chair and have him sit there all day and then punish him and tell him he's bad for exactly who he is.
Right.
And that shame delivery, right? Just delivery of shame. You're bad. You're wrong. And learning to cope with that.
I'm going to stop at this moment. We have to take a break because we have it programmed out. And I just want our guests to think about the child with so much energy that is forced to sit in a chair in our school system. And what Matt said about trying to be you in a place that's telling you to be everybody else. We're going to take our first break. You are listening to Your Healing Playground. I am Dr. Tina Coopersmith, your host. We are on the Inspired Choices Network, and come right back so we can hear more from Dr. Matt Helm and his expertise.
Your Healing Playground is the space where science, spirit, and sensation dance together. Your host, Dr. Tina Coopersmith, physician, coach, healer, and play advocate, returns weekly to remind you that healing isn't just about pills and protocols. Western medicine is just one of many healing modalities. True wellness is about energy, emotion, pleasure, and play. On this show, Dr. Tina explores the playground of your body, mind, heart, and soul. From neuroscience to sensuality, from root chakra to real talk. She'll share tools, stories, and soulful strategies to shift you out of fear and back into joy. Because if you're alive and breathing, your story is still unwritten, and you deserve to write it with love. Together, you'll learn to breathe, feel, and play your way back to wellness, because you are your best healer.
Are you a subject matter expert? Are you here to share your expertise with an audience waiting to hear from you in only the way you can deliver? Are you ready to have your voice amplified across the airwaves? Inspired Choices Network has a global radio platform streaming to millions of people across the world. Professionally produced and supported by an accomplished team every step of the way, you can broadcast from anywhere in the world, knowing your voice matters, and we ensure it is delivered with ease and efficiency. Eager to hear your message, the world awaits. Contact us today to become an Inspired Choices Network radio host. Email becomeahost@inspiredchoicesnetwork.com.
This is Your Healing Playground with Dr. Tina Coopersmith. To participate in the program, join the live studio audience in our chat room at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. You can also send an email to info@womensreproduction.com. Now, back to our program.
Welcome back, my friends. Once again, you're listening to Your Healing Playground. Hope you want to play. Hope you want to heal. I am your host, Dr. Tina Coopersmith. We are on the Inspired Choices Network. I invite you to go pick up a copy of my new book, which is funny thing. It's called Your Healing Playground because I do believe in aliveness, vitality, play as the key to healing. And right now, today, I have with us Matt Helm, Dr. Matt Helm, and he's telling us how he got, let me just mention this, from a trailer park beginning teenage mom and dad to a PhD and a soon-to-be best-selling author, I am convinced, a professor of life and so much more, college athlete. How does a little boy who can't sit in his seat in first grade, living, not the, the teachers, you said difficult teachers on boys in general, but also, I'm sure the teachers look down on the kids that they don't think are going to make it. We have haves and have nots in our society. And, from trailer park to PhD, right? Like, come on, did your first grade teacher know that? And would she have treated you differently if she realized who you really are, if she saw who you were and your potential, if she watered the seeds correctly? And maybe you wouldn't be the same. I don't know. So How did you manage to that life force of yours to
Mhm.
push up and go, I am not my past?
I'm so grateful for whatever that part of me is. Like
Yeah.
there was a tenacious will in me. So
Mhm.
because you talk about nervous systems, it's
Yeah.
like my nervous system, that fight, flight, freeze, fawn, it was paying attention to the world. And I didn't have a mother who was there at parent teacher conferences who was protecting me. Certainly, I did not have a father who was there like the father that I am. I never missed a parent teacher conference. I never missed an athletic. I coached all of my children's team. I coached sports I never played a day in. So
Hmm.
so that I could be with my children on the field. And so I really was like, you ever read the Huckleberry Finns and Tom Sawyer's?
Yeah.
I was very much like a Huck Finn, Tom Sawyer. I was adventurous. I walked into nature was my first healer. I'd walk
Yeah.
into the woods and climb a tree or catch crawdads or a lot of other mischievous things.
Uh-huh.
But from that trailer, that could have been the title of the book, From Trailer Park to PhD. But, but what happened was I knew I needed to protect myself. I knew that nobody was coming to rescue me. And so it
Mm.
built this resiliency. It built this analytic part of me that monitored the external world for safety. And
Yeah.
so I learned how to go underground, and I learned how to, in a very sophisticated way, how to be successful and survive. My grades were always, A's and B's, mostly A's, but in conduct, it was an F every single time. And there's where that humiliation and that shame. I love the
Whoa.
work of Brene Brown when she talks about shame resiliency and what is the cure of being traumatized and disciplined by shame and finding myself and learning about vulnerability and finding that part of myself that could feel. And but probably one of the turning points in my life was a stepfather that came into my life,
Okay.
and he saw right away that I had this high level activity, and he put me in wrestling.
Mm.
And I just took off with it. I took off with it right away. And then I said, because we had money, and and I said, the neighborhood kids are playing Little League. Can I play Little League? Yes. So then I started playing Little League, and then the football season came, and I'm like, can I play football? And so I played 3 and 4 sports at a time. And when I think about it, what this athletics did for me, it was that fatherless energy. It was a place to go where I could feel that masculine, that fathering energy. It was a place to take my hurt, my loss, my grief. Of course, you don't know it as a kid that that's what you're doing. But what I was doing, and it doesn't surprise me anymore that I became an All American and I became a state champ, a 4-time All State, um, college wrestling scholarship to multiple Big Ten and multiple universities around the country. I chose Michigan State University to wrestle for, and so that's how I got into college.
Yeah.
Right? Actually, I got recruited out of my city to go to an elite high school,
Mm.
Detroit Catholic Central, and where we were state champs. And it was probably one of the best things that ever happened to me because of the city I was growing up in was not the best place for me, and ended up going to a really elite academically and elite athletically, a school
Hmm.
that I really believe it led to my success. I had a wrestling coach there, Coach Rodriguez, who took me under his wing and basically was a father figure while I was in high school. And my brother ended up going there, so both of us. My brother's a 2-time high school champ. We both wrestled back to back at Michigan, all the way through high school, and then at Michigan State. And it was in college where I started to run into the deep suffering because I went through
Oh.
high school. Okay, I got a stepfather. I'm winning. I have my needs are met. I'm a pretty happy kid. Get a wrestling scholarship to go to a major university. And that's where I ran into myself. And when my mother and stepfather weren't there and I was left to my own devices, and I had a college girlfriend. So this first breakup in my life hurt. I can still feel it today. It's like the first loss of your life, other than that father not being there. But that heartbreak led me to right down that inherited family line. My father numbed with alcohol and drugs, and I moved my way into it. Started out as just having fun in college, and then it became a way of coping with reality, coping with grief, coping with loss. And so I went into higher education and student affairs because I went through every part of the system: judicial affairs, the residence hall, dean of students, and eventually the counseling center, all of which are now under my kind of professional umbrella of departments I've worked in or for.
Okay, I want to stop you because I'm not sure I understand it correctly, and I think I do, but if I'm not sure, it's possible my listeners aren't sure too. When you say you experienced all those parts of the university system, it's because you as an undergrad had to meet
Yes.
with the judicial system and the counseling system right. So
Yes.
you were going through school and once again being the acted out 5-year-old in first grade, now acting out in college in a sense.
That's right.
Yeah. And
That's
I
right.
invite you, you know that I talk about metabolizing emotions, right? And the bottom line is your 5-year-old certainly didn't know how to metabolize the emotions. Your biological father, didn't know how to metabolize the emotions. So they were stuck and stuffed in. And how amazing. I want to praise the men in your life that were divine masculine men for you. So you had masculine figures to oh, there is another way to be. And what happened, what I'm hearing, and again, I'm not your psychologist, but is that breakup, and we all have them, first loves rarely become forever loves. But it opened up all the wounds from childhood that had never been actually dealt with, right?
That's right.
And so you had to go, it was like, oh, act 2. Oh, it's same human, just a little bigger. And now the stakes were a little higher, right? And so again, we all know how it ended. And so it's such a beautiful hero's journey. And there's more to come and more for you to tell us. We're going to take our next break and then come back for this amazing wisdom from Matt Helm that's going to come out. Once again, you're listening to Your Healing Playground. Please come back to hear more because I'm sure the wise adult is going to start dropping some wisdom bombs. We are on Your Healing Playground. I am your host, Dr. Tina Cooper-Smith, and we are on the Inspired Choices Network.
Your Healing Playground is the space where science, spirit, and sensation dance together. Your host, Dr. Tina Cooper-Smith, physician, coach, healer, and play advocate, returns weekly to remind you that healing isn't just about pills and protocols. Western medicine is just one of many healing modalities. True wellness is about energy, emotion, pleasure, and play. On this show, Dr. Tina explores the playground of your body, mind, heart, and soul. From neuroscience to sensuality, from root chakra to real talk. She'll share tools, stories, and soulful strategies to shift you out of fear and back into joy. Because if you're alive and breathing, your story is still unwritten, and you deserve to write it with love. Together, you'll learn to breathe, feel, and play your way back to wellness, because you are your best healer.
How wonderful would it be to carry your favorite Inspired Choices Network host with you throughout your day? Well, now you can. Inspired Choices Network now has its very own mobile app. Our free app offers live streaming shows, along with thousands of podcasts and TV episodes. Our shows cover a wide variety of topics. Whether you're waking up with us, carrying us through the day, and taking us to bed with you, we're always here for you to enjoy. We're easy to find. Just search for Inspired Choices Network in the Apple App Store or Google Play Store.
This is Your Healing Playground with Dr. Tina Cooper-Smith, To participate in the program, join the live studio audience in our chat room at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. You can also send an email to info@womensreproduction.com. Now, back to our program.
Welcome back, everybody. Once again, we are on Your Healing Playground. I am your host, Dr. Tina Cooper-Smith on the Inspired Choices Network. Head on over to drtinaplays.com. Sign up for my new healing community where I will be hosting Zoom calls twice a month to talk about mind, body, heart, spirit healing, to coach in community, to get healthy in community. And you can also check out my once a month free classes on fertility. And coming soon to a theater near you. No, not really, but a retreat will be in the works for the summer months. So come on over to drtinaplays.com and hang out with me some more than just this once a week podcast. Today I have with me my friend and just my hero. I just think he's such a cool guy, Dr. Matt Helm. And we were talking about his journey and from childhood, college, to really becoming a fantastic coach, teacher, author. And I want to get into the nitty gritty of what you really want to teach and help the world learn. Because as you said, the world, it's at a crossroads. Help us, help us. Ah, we're melting. But tell me, you talk about the divine masculine, and you had some really good masculine role models and some not such good ones. You didn't necessarily have the tools. And, I'm going to out you because I know marriage 1 didn't last, but marriage, the kids are great. Marriage 2 is a little bit better. That starter marriage, that learning how to negotiate relationships is part of your story and part of your shift. And so let's start with the crux of your message that you really want people to know, that you went through difficult times of how am I supposed to be a man, right? How am I supposed to deal with heartache? How am I supposed to stand up again? And how am I supposed to raise my kids, right? So that they are healthy humans to heal the planet. So can I invite you to elaborate more on your message? Because I don't want to waste our time. It's not a waste, but we got to know where the caca came from for the
Yes. Well, to cut to the chase, I believe humanity's caged. There's a reason I titled the book Uncaged. And there is a really, really powerful matrix and structure, economically, politically, culturally, relationally, designed to trigger our nervous system to stay at the fight flight.
Yeah.
And so in terms of self-actualization, there are very, very few people who are self-actualized. And those who believe that they are self-actualized believe that they are within the current water the fish is swimming in. So we were talking about self-improvement. And so you can basically improve your life within competitive, hyper-competitive capitalism. And this is what I learned in my doctoral program. I studied with neo-Marxists, post-Marxists, critical theorists, all the pissed off philosophers and sociologists of our time. And by the time I was done with my PhD, I almost didn't finish. I walked in because I realized that even our educational system, K through 12 educational system, is designed to build workers, to build sheep that will behave in our system exactly as they were taught. And when I went into, I finished my bachelor's degrees and I was trying to figure out, what am I going to do with my life? You can only make so much with a bachelor's degree in psychology and sociology. But I took my first job in a minimum security prison for kids, for boys. And I got there, 80% of the kids were Black, 15% of them were Hispanic, and the other were white. And I remember the trailer park. All of us whites were in the trailer park, the Blacks were down here, the African Americans. And I said, there's something wrong here. I was these kids.
Right.
I didn't get caught as much as they did, but they were doing similar things. And most of them were coming from single parent households. And I started to critically contemplate what's wrong here. And as I started to try to decide, am I going to get a teaching special education. They were all EI, emotionally impaired, learning
Right.
disabled. Join the crowd, right? I'm that same kid. Or am I going to go on and do a master's degree? And I wanted to position myself to be of maximum service as a leader to our people. So I chose the master's route, not going into the classroom, but to go deal with the bigger issues that we were facing. And so I got a master's, and one of my mentors was a critical theorist. And critical theorists interrogate the external world for the oppressive forces that we're
Yeah.
interacting in.
Oh, I love that.
And one of the books that I read, and so student development is a predominantly white profession. It's a predominantly female profession. So I entered for the first time in my life as a minority into a feminine culture. And that's where the light bulb started going off again. I was being conditioned and socialized to be a woman.
Oh,
And
interesting.
so in the caring professions, and so here I am coming in as an administrator with a master's degree or in a master's program, and all of my classmates are women. Like there's a handful of men in there, but I loved it. I loved the theoretical frameworks we were learning, the counseling aspects, but women go into those. Teachers, predominantly women. And when you look at budget cuts and you look at money and where money is delivered, it's the feminine professions that are disproportionately funded, less than.
Oh, yeah.
When you look at the pay structures, all of that was part of my master's and PhD program. But we read Pedagogy of the Oppressed by Paulo Freire. And it was basically Freire liberated Brazil. He showed the caste system. And he showed how peasants stayed peasants their whole life.
Yeah.
And when I read the book overnight. My classmates didn't even understand it. I knew exactly what Freire was saying. I knew exactly what it was like to come from the lowest socioeconomic status. I knew the way people from the lower SES were treated. And that's where I started the grief started coming up and the anger started coming up, because before then, I was just studying harder. I was reading more. As an athlete, I adapted to the red marks on your paper and the criticism you get in graduate school. And I'm like, you'll never defeat me. You will never bring me down when I come from where I came from. So I basically took to graduate education, master's and PhD, like an athletic sport. Bring it on. And at some point, I truly fell in love with learning. And I devoured books. I read constantly so that I could understand what was happening in my life and so that I could lead at a higher level. But Pedagogy of the Oppressed, it really looked at the banking system, the K through 12 system, where you sit in the desk, you don't move, and basically you take on the authority, the external world, situates and indoctrinates your internal reality, and they use discipline and shame and punishment until that internal prison guard is you.
This is my story.
Yes, that prison guard was rough on me. Once I internalized the system and the way that it wanted you to do that to yourself, the eyes of shame were not the external world anymore. That's the genius of the cage. It's
100%.
You. Yes, it's one thing to have for A to have power over B because they're bigger and stronger, men over women, right? But
then you take it on.
Right.
You have completely internalized your oppressor. So it's the capo. You know how in a jail or in the prison camps, there's still the hierarchy. Like the one who sleeps near the latrine is the lowest of the low, and they're usually sexually abused. That's what I learned in South Africa right? And our system, actually, women were taught to be competitive against other women. So we were doing the work for the men. The female circumcisions in Africa are done by the women.
Yeah.
So yeah, I get you.
And so as we get into the meat and bones of this, as I started to figure out, oh my God, putting me in a desk, shaming me, telling me that I was bad, all the healing work, waking up, I woke up to it. It was like a light bulb went off, and it went off a little too fast, because when you walk into a dark room and somebody turns the lights on and the lights hit you, that's how it hit me. It hit me like a wake-up call. I see it. I see the oppressor. I see what they're doing. I see the design, and I just happen to have all the Marxist, Heidegger, Foucault, all of the rebels that were including Christ, right? Flipping tables over. I have learned that there's a way to go about this, but what we've done to men in this culture, the sacred masculine, is missing. We have cut the kneecaps off on men in this culture, and the educational system is part of it. Parenting in the culture, they're doing their best, but they're in the system. So I really think it's important for the listeners to know, to wake up it's like a fish in water, where that fish has been swimming in water and it doesn't know what water is. And we are interacting in a reality that's been socially constructed for us to exist in, and it masquerades as the true self. And so you're just coming out of who am I?
Yeah.
Feel who you are here and now. Feel who you're not here and now. As you do that, you recognize more and more and more who you really are beyond.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's a sort of like children in the K through 12 all the way through higher education, because higher education really is just more advanced conditioning to put you in a system to work a profession that serves who?
The system.
The system that serves what? And so
Money.
Then we've got, okay, if I'm truly going to lead and I'm going to serve humanity, I've got to understand that system. I've got to understand what we call the matrix, the water. And it's the invisible architecture of reality that people are born into. And it's self-reinforcing. You know, it's the economic system we're in. Oh, you got to go to college to get a good job so you can make good money. Why? Where'd that come from? And when you look at basically the 7 major civilizations over the course of human history that we can document, they all fell apart and so it's really clear we're in one of those right now, where we've gone from nothing to this abundance, to the oppression of people, to the abuse of the environment and the resources in our planet, and it's falling apart. There's the hospice level. We are in hospice. People think gas prices going up and the war and these kind of things are just normal parts of life. No, they're not. They are part of what the oppressor does to keep their privileged place within the dominant world structure.
Oh, true. I see it I'm watching a TV show called Poldark, and you're seeing what they're doing in the 1700s and the 1800s. And we have to take our last break. But yeah, the nervous system and being in fight, flight, freeze, or please, when you're fighting for food, water, safety, clean water, clean air, and just to pay the bills, you cannot use your aliveness for creativity to create and express the you that you really are and to change society. And so we're wasting 7 billion humans on the planet by not putting our heads together to figure out how to get out of this mess. So I completely agree. We're going to take our last break and come back, because I bet you have some thoughts and answers on what we should do. So, my friends, if you're enjoying the show, please give us a 5-star review on iTunes. Search Your Healing Playground. I will be so grateful. It will assist in getting this information out to those who need it. I want to keep doing this to bring healing and aliveness to everybody that is willing to check in and listen. So we're going to take our last break. Once again, Your Healing Playground. I'm your host, Dr. Tina Coopersmith, and we're on the Inspired Choices Network. And come right back, because I know we got more wisdom, not just how we're falling apart, but how perhaps we can build it back together.
Your Healing Playground is the space where science, spirit, and sensation dance together. Your host, Dr. Tina Coopersmith, physician, coach, healer, and play advocate, returns weekly to remind you that healing isn't just about pills and protocols. Western medicine is just one of many healing modalities. True wellness is about energy, emotion, pleasure, and play. On this show, Dr. Tina explores the playground of your body, mind, heart and soul, from neuroscience to sensuality, from root chakra to real talk. She'll share tools, stories, and soulful strategies to shift you out of fear and back into joy. Because if you're alive and breathing, your story is still unwritten, and you deserve to write it with love. Together, you'll learn to breathe, feel, and play your way back to wellness, because you are your best healer. This is Your Healing Playground with Dr. Tina Coopersmith. To participate in the program, join the live studio audience in our chat room at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. You can also send an email to info@womensreproduction.com. Now, back to our program.
Welcome back, my friends. You are listening to Your Healing Playground. I am your host, Dr. Tina Coopersmith. We are on the Inspired Choices Network. Please celebrate this podcast by sharing it with your friends. The more people that hear it, the more I can continue to do it. And the more we bring you great guests like the one I have today, Dr. Matt Helm, author of the upcoming book, Uncaged. So we find we're in a cage. We realize we see the bars. How do we get ourselves to the other side before we end today? And I feel like we need to do 3 more podcasts with you. What do you propose?
Well, the awakening process, right? So hopefully the listeners are hearing that our reality has been taken, and it's like really clear. It's been co-opted by the powers. And so when we get into stuff like love and intimacy and sex and all these freedoms, like as an erotic blueprint coach, it's about erotic freedom. And what are the barriers? So I had done all of this work on myself, many retreats, all kinds of trainings. I've trained with the Noetic Institute, which is an organization trying to rescue humanity. And these powers that we have underneath the surface when we do the healing work. So waking up, healing up. And so there's part of people I know that are listening that can feel that part of them that's in the prison, that's gripped. And when I think about my work with men, it starts as boys. I mean, show up to yourself. And so the self-improvement, it's not just get a gym membership. It's not just get therapy. It's not just, these are all great things. But beginning to show up to yourself, taking immaculate care of your body and your mind and your heart. And when we get into the sacred masculine is really the energetic of being present. And so your own sacred masculine, being present to your life. And what are all the things that get in the way of that? Claiming your life like it mattered. And
your choices are yours. Take responsibility.
And it's a sacred when you realize, actually, I choose my reality moment to moment. I actually choose from the thoughts moving through my head. That's the masculine. Sacred masculine is that higher part of us that keeps us present. And so you got to cultivate it through practices like meditation, practices like yoga. When I walk into nature, it immediately brings me to presence. Yeah. And so be fully present in your life, because without presence, you're like ghost hunting in your own life, you know? And so take extreme ownership for your life. And by that, I mean, stop blaming people. Stop playing the victim card and take responsibility, radical responsibility for your growth and development. And when you do that, when I think about meeting Jaya and the erotic blueprints, I had already met Satya, and I thought I was a pretty free person and pretty healthy person. And then I met Jaya, and I realized there's a whole nother level to erotic freedom. And I'm like, I'm not completely free. I want to know what it feels like to be free in every single dimension of my life. And I can only take my clients as far as I've gone.
Right.
And reality, as far as I've gone to uncover and to recover myself from this matrix, from these powers that are taking our energy, that are taking our attention, mean, there's super surveillance. The computers now with AI, they are monitoring everything behind the surface. They are provoking our deepest wounds so that we'll stay distracted from what's happened. And so the big example right now is the Epstein files and what they've uncovered. And the newest Department of Justice report says they're not going to prosecute. And so right in plain sight, we've got the powers and what they've done to abuse children, and the highest level people running our planet are basically turning a blind eye to it and covering it up. It shows you how powerful.
Correct.
And we'll eventually forget about it like we have, and that abuse will continue. And so taking ownership. Now, I built a model called SERVE, select a global issue, educate yourself on that issue. Human trafficking, just pick one. Human trafficking. How many people know what it really is? Do something about it. Respond. S, select an issue. E is educate yourself on that issue. Respond in some way. The V is to give value to it and reflect and contemplate. And the E is to evaluate and celebrate. This is the model that I want to bring out into the world, and I want to take to the NCAA. I'm going to take my student development. I want to take all of these beautiful healing modalities, blend them into a structure to take to the NCAA and make it part of the ecosystem that college athletes go through. So they don't just come out of their sports. We're doing a very poor job helping these high-level athletes translate the advanced skills they have into the world of work and into the world of service. And
I love it. And I got to plug you into my sons, these college athlete graduates that are starting to ask me questions about the masculine and the feminine.
Yes.
So,
well, a man in his power, and this gets into the sacred feminine, and yes, it's another whole podcast, but the feminine is inviting us, constantly inviting us to take responsibility as men on the planet and to protect and to be warriors. And we don't have that kind of man on. That's why I said at the very beginning, women have to, especially with hypercapitalism, have had to build a masculine shell to cope with it. And so you got two adults working, and you got two people depleted at the end of the day. Women take most of the responsibility for the household, so they're doing double duty, and you got polarity evaporated. Yeah. Polarity being the masculine and the feminine, bringing the essence of who and what they are together, which is the beauty. And what we have is we have two masculine energies in a household. People are exhausted. There's no polarity. And so we've got the fewest number of children being born on the planet right now. We've got men and women not living in their natural essence. And 100%. I still believe we've not really seen a real man on the planet yet.
Yeah, well, and I think the women are hiding. We're too scared to be fully present, because being fully present is still scary because we were burned at the stake, right? And are we going to the women nowadays are starting to speak up and refuse to be silenced and refuse to be subjugated and refuse to be shamed. And we're all aware that if Epstein files goes away, it's like a proof that we might get burned at the stake all over again, and it all for naught. And unfortunately, we're running out of time, and it is crazy. But I do think, Matt, that we do have, I just believe love in life is a powerful force that is underneath it all. And there are enough people who refuse to go backwards. The life force is pushing us forward. And the more, and again, I'll have you on again, maybe when your book actually reaches the shelves, and to explore this again, because life is right here, right now. It's no body, it's no mind, it's no thing. It is eternal life force. It's the earth, it's the sky, it's the plants, it's the humans. We're all just microcosms, macrocosms of the same energy. And I'll leave it at that.
Yes.
If you felt something
the
move
call to
today,
action
a
is that-
molecule, a mindset, or your mood, that's healing. Your body listens to your stories, your thoughts, your breath. So speak to yourself with kindness, play with curiosity, and let your nervous system know it's safe to rest. Dr. Tina returns Monday at 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 Central, 9 Mountain, 8 Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. Remember, pleasure is a practice and play is your medicine.